Well, hello everyone and welcome back to another video tutorial. Now in this video we're going to be painting pink and blue hydrangeas, and I've got my reference photo here in front of me and also on my iPad, and so I better plug that in. Okay. Yeah, so I've got a larger view of it here, and we won't be painting all of these today. I just want to show you for my beginner tutorials, sort of give you an idea of what I'm going to do if I was going to be painting lots and lots of hydrangeas. But in this one, I'll just sort of do a pink poof ball and a blue, just so that you can, if you want to do lots more, you can, but I don't want to drag the video on and on because I think it's fun just to do these quick studies. So I'm going to start off with, I'm going to block in some of the blue. So I'm going to get a little bit of that cobalt blue, and I'm going to add a little bit of that brown oxide. So I've got the colors I'm using are from Golden, and I've got quinacridone red, cad yellow medium, cobalt blue, transparent brown oxide, and viridian. That's it, and some white. So really trying to do this with a simple palette so that anyone can do this at home. And so I'm just going to start off with a little blue and a little bit of this brown oxide, just so I'm not using the most vibrant blue right away. And I'm going to just kind of put one of those poof balls in here. And looks like cotton candy the way these hydrangeas look to me. So just sort of using a little bit of paint. I've got a little bit of water on my brush, which I don't mind, because I want the paint to move around freely and just sort of be able to blend in later some color. And I'm just using, this is just a brush from Michael's. It's one of those Zen Royal and Lanicle. And I don't know what size it is, probably like a 6 or something. You want to block in with a larger brush. You don't want to use a little tiny brush to block in. Okay, once you have, I'm kind of looking at this one here. So once you have that all, whoops. There. Oh, and I've got my reference photo right here. So I'm going to focus on that one, and then I'll do one of those pink ones here. So you want to clean your brush off good and wipe it down, and then get some of that quinacridone red, or if you don't have quinacridone red, any red that kind of makes a nice pink. So if you have quinacridone magenta, that would work too. Okay, so I'm just going to block in, and I don't mind that it's so bright, because that's sort of bright and dark, because we're going to add white and we're going to add the highlights later. So you kind of want to get that in there. So just I'm sort of dabbing in the paint in those almost the leafy shapes that you see. And I don't mind that there's some of that cobalt that I'm getting from up here is kind of blending in nicely in here, like in the shadow. You might want to add a little cobalt to your mix and put that in your initial layer, some of that cobalt and cobalt blue and quinacridone red in where there's a shadow here. It kind of adds a nice purpley shadow look there. So now you've kind of got the two block-ins of where those hydrangeas are. And now I'm going to go back and add some of the light highlights to it. So I'm going to go back with some white and cobalt blue. And just sort of, and this is really simple. I'm trying to keep it as simple as I can. I have a tendency to overcomplicate things. So I'm going to get some of that. And I'm just going to, you can see there's some real light highlights in there. So let's see how this works. I'm just going to put a few strokes here and there that look like the basic shape of those petals. So just kind of go around and put some of those lighter blue petals in there, and they don't have to be perfect, just sort of dabbing some of those shapes in. Like this. And you'll see I'm softening the edges. I'm using the corner of my brush, and then I'm using the flat part of my brush to make these pretty petals stand out. But then, you know, I can sort of use the very corner of my brush to just kind of make some of those edges stand out. And then go back and add a little more white, and you'll get some real bright highlights, and just gives the eye that whole effect that there's a hydrangea going on there. And then you can get a little dab of white and put the odd center in, even if it's not like obvious. Just again, it gives your eye that whole look that there's a hydrangea happening. So very simple and easy to do, and that's what we want. So I'm going to get some white and some of that quinacridone red. So now you'll see that makes a really pretty pink. I know a lot of people will go and get alizarin out, and alizarin will make just a real mucky gray pink. It won't look vibrant and pretty. So don't use alizarin. And again, I'm just kind of using my brush. You'll notice I'm pushing down on the corner and then lifting off. So you get that thinner part of the of each petal. And get a little more. And as you get into the shadow area there, don't add too many details. There's already enough, and you don't want it to get too light down there. So don't worry too much about adding the light pink down here. You kind of want it to look like it has a nice shadow. So I'm just adding more of those marks. And, you know, it's looking like a hydrangea, and that's what you want. And then you can add a few of those little dots of white that they have in some of the centers there. Okay, so that just keeps it real simple, and I would do the exact same thing in oil. So if you're wondering what do I do with oil, same thing. Only you would use, instead of water for the underpaint, just use a little bit of your terp. So now I'm going to make some green leaves just because I want to show off, pop those out a bit. So I'm going to use some Viridian and some of the brown oxide and a little bit of water. And I'm going to work maybe a little more of that brown oxide in there. And I'm going to just put in some of those greens, and also show you, if you're doing a large painting, you can cut in some of the dark greens in there in between, and shape the outside of the hydrangea by cutting in, some of that green. And same down here. Just cutting in is another way of creating that edge, and that whole look there. So just doing it really quickly to show you how pretty and how simple these can be. And so there you have the edge, and then you can go back and get some of the blue and just go back over that edge a bit, get a little more white, and bring the marks above the green again down there. And same with the pink. You can go and get some of that pink and really bring out some of that on top of the dark green. Really bring out some of those nice marks there. Like that. So that's the general idea. Maybe one last thing I would do is go get some of that cobalt, and you can work in a few little darks back in. Now that you've got your mid-tone and your light, you can go back in with some of that and add back some of those dark blues, and that'll also give it more dimension. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this little tutorial. And if you haven't already joined my Patreon, there's a lot of tutorials I'm adding all the time to the list of videos on there. And you can do these for as little as $10 a month, and then you can move up and get all access to hundreds of hours of videos of birds and Christmas videos and, you know, full-size paintings with lots of details. And those videos are usually around an hour to an hour and a half. And there's at least, you know, like I said, there's at least 50 videos in that category. And then the top tier, you get to join the live video lessons on Zoom. And they're even more interactive, and you get new videos each month. So check it out on Patreon. There's a link in the description. And thank you for watching this video. And I hope you have fun.